Takozani Timelang Khanya Lisedi. Hello everyone and welcome back to the 101 sessions with Gogo Musare, and I'm your host Gogo Am, giving you guys tips, lessons and teachings on everything spirituality. Okay, as usual, my number is at the top. Please remember this number is for consultation bookings only and dream translation bookings. If you do have questions, please leave them on the comment section, right? I know that I haven't had the best track in terms of answering the questions posted on my comment section, but I'm working to be a better person. That means I will be more frequent in answering them questions. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about soul ties, right? So whereas we're going to be talking about soul ties, we'll be trying to understand what soul ties are, different signs that you're in a soul tie connection, and also how it is that you can break them, because in most cases 80% of soul ties that we do get, let's say 50%, are not good ones. So breaking them is very important to know as well, right? So as usual, I have my notes just so we don't sidetrack on anything and I don't ramble around like I usually do. Okay. So again, a soul tie is a spiritual connection that is formed with another individual, right? And whereby this is formed with another individual, this connection can lead to a spiritual marriage. Yeah. So this is something that is not often noted out a lot in terms of soul ties, but the minute your soul and your energy is joined with another person, is basically tying the knot in a spiritual manner. Hence, you end up being in a spiritual marriage with this particular person, and hence that is why a soul tie is created. Né? But do remember that soul ties don't necessarily mean romantic relationships. They can also be platonic soul ties, and they don't necessarily mean there's a marriage spiritually, but with romantic soul ties there is a spiritual marriage. Né? And then at the same time, these particular soul ties result to the interference of the other person's energy onto your own. This is whereas this person's energy, be it positive or negative, tends to impact your energy in a way, right? This is whereas, let's say for example, the person that you have a soul tie with has a very negative energy, a very bad aura, a very bad essence on their own. Automatically, once there's a soul tie between you and this person, the negativity from this person's energy is something that is actually going to affect yourself and your energy and your life. Né? Meaning that if things are going well and you create a soul tie with a person whose energy is bad, then there's a high chance that your things are going to start becoming very bad. Né? So hence that is why it's so important to actually learn to break soul ties, especially when they're negative soul ties. Né? A soul tie can also result to the merging of energies, traumas, and even spiritual curses. Né? This is whereas not only are your energies joined together, but also even traumas. Let's say, for example, this person has a specific childhood trauma. Understand that our traumas can actually attract certain people towards our lives, and those people will have their own traumas, and automatically we start experiencing those kind of traumas as our own as well. Okay, my light is acting up. Let me turn this one on. Né? So this is whereas we actually get those energies or those traumas to affect us as well. Né? And whereas that is the case, even spiritual curses follow us. Whereas, for example, if let's say, for example, in this person's generation, the generational curse or the spiritual curse is poverty, and before you met them, your things were flourishing, you were like living in abundance, bathing in abundance on a regular basis, the minute your energy merges with that person, then you automatically start attracting negativity in your life and poverty within your life as well. Né? And in oftentimes, this person is a part of your dreams as well. So in terms of a soul tie, or when you're in a soul tie connection, this person will not only affect you in terms of the physical, but also spiritually. You will actually be able to see them on a regular basis. You will dream of them, you'll think of them, they'll actually just be in your subconscious mind on a regular basis. And that's what makes a soul tie very bad, because the more you think or the more you dream about a person, that is the more in which it strengthens the bond of this particular soul tie that you are in at that particular point. Name soul ties are created mostly through intimacy or sex. Name but there are other ways in which a soul tie can be created with another person, and that is also something that I want to point out, because as much as soul ties are talked about in this day and age, whereas we're diving into spirituality as much as we can, the one issue, or rather the one problem that we have as human beings, is thinking that soul ties only are only a result of intimacy or sex with another person, whereas there are other ways in which you can create soul ties. That's why earlier I mentioned that there's a romantic soul tie, and then at the same time there are platonic soul ties, and these platonic soul ties are soul ties that are created through other methods as opposed to sex itself. So with these other methods, the first one is using your words. Understand that your tongue has to be the strongest thing you have. The same way we can cause, like, say affirmations on a regular basis to make things great for ourselves is the same way that we can use those words or affirmations to create soul ties in our lives. So using words can be in the form of vows, agreements, and commitment. The minute you vow to love somebody for the rest of your life, then that is where soul ties can be created. The minute you agree that you want to be a part of this person's life, that is where soul ties are created. The minute you say, I'm gonna be in a committed relationship with this particular person, that is the beginning of a soul tie. But it's not necessarily always a bad thing, because now and then we make vows and commitments and agreements with our significant others or our best friends, people that have the best intentions at heart for us, and their energies are pure, and that creates a very positive soul tie at the end of the day. Hence, that is why I said that there are good soul ties and there are bad soul ties. So it's best to know what kind of soul tie you make in this world and know which ones you're going to break, because with every single individual that we meet in our lives, understand that there's a soul contract to encounter this person, and how far it is that you're willing to take this connection or this particular relationship, be it platonic or romantic, then that is going to significantly determine as to whether a soul tie is brought or not at the end of the day. Number 2, intimacy during your menstrual cycle. This is one of the strongest way to create a soul tie. Yes, it is possible to create a soul tie through sex without actually what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it is possible to have sex with a person and not create a soul tie, but the minute you have sex with a person, whereas you're going through a menstrual cycle as a woman, then you automatically create a soul tie bond, because understand that the menstrual cycle is actually one of the strongest points or times a woman is spiritually, meaning that any spell, any ritual, basically anything that you perform spiritually during that time of the month is bound to be stronger than the ones that you did on other days of the month. And that is something that I want to talk about, because there's a lot of misconceptions in terms of menstrual cycles and periods, and there's a lot of misunderstandings where people actually assume that can actually cause weakness into a woman's life, whereas that is actually the opposite, right? Number 3, creating a very close relationship. So a very close relationship, like I said, it can be either platonic or romantic. Let's say, for instance, there's someone in your life, there's a friend. You start off slow as usual, and then as time goes on, you start sharing, you start being a huge part of each other's life. There's intimacy that is shared, and this intimacy doesn't necessarily have to be a physical type of intimacy. It can also be an emotional intimacy, a mental type of intimacy. That on its own does create a soul tie. So the friends that you have in your life, they are also people that you can create soul ties with. And like I said, it is not always a bad thing, but it is very important for one to understand the type of friendship that they are in. If you're friends with someone who is toxic, who's bad, then that will result in a very bad soul tie connection, and that is gonna result in a connection whereas there's a lot of trauma, a lot of narcissistic behaviors, a lot of toxic traits that are brought up in this friendship. But the issue with soul ties is that it is not easy to actually get out of them, meaning that it is going to be a cycle that continues for a very long time, even when you know that this relationship that I've created is not good for me, because of the soul tie that has been created, because of the bond that has been created emotionally, mentally, physically, then automatically it's gonna be difficult for you to pull away from that, because that energy is already a part of yours to a certain extent, right? And lastly, spell works and rituals are also created to make soul ties. So I'm a TikTok baby. I love TikTok, right? And there are a lot of videos that come through on my TikTok feed, whereas they're saying, well, do this to make this person obsessed with you, do this and this and that. Those are actually different types of methods to create soul ties. Name. And whereas there are different types of methods to create soul ties, there's still more. There are others, even candle work, praying about somebody, praying that someone could actually look at you. There are different spell works, name. Even creating like corobellas and whatnot, that is a soul tie creation. And the strongest form of soul tie, a love potion is a soul tie connection. And it's the kind of soul tie that actually continuously keeps that person in your life, no matter how bad things get or how good things become. So spell work is a very powerful way to create soul ties. And unlike the other methods, it's actually a lot faster, né? Whereas you end up seeing results to the soul tie connection quicker than it is with other things, because with other things you might find that there's a soul tie but the bond has not become strong yet, né? But with the use of spells and rituals, that is whereas the bond becomes stronger at a very fast pace. Okay. So the idea that soul ties are only caused by sex is a misconception, because there are multiple portals a soul can walk through. And even though these ties can be created, there are also ways in which a person can identify different types of soul ties and know as to whether or not these soul ties are good for them or not. If a relationship is benefiting you in the right way, that is where as you'll know that this soul tie is good for you. But if this is a relationship that is draining you and the energy of this person is constantly draining you, then that is a sign to actually let you know that this soul tie is actually bad for you. Now, so there are different signs that you will have that will actually show you that you are in a soul tie connection. And there are basically 10 signs that I actually decided to note down, along with 5 signs, 5 different ways in which you can break them, to allow you guys to be able to identify different soul ties that are in your life, and also determine as to whether or not you're wanting to break this particular soul ties or not. The first sign that you're in a soul tie connection is that you're always drawn to this person uncontrollably. This is where as you think about this person day in and day out, this person's always on your mind. You wonder what they would like, you wonder what they would not like. You constantly just have them in your mind to a point whereas every decision that you make is somewhat influenced by them, whether you realize it or not. And this can be both consciously or unconsciously done, but you know for a fact that a minute cannot go by without you thinking about this particular person. So that is a huge sign of a soul tie. But at the same time, it depends on what kind of soul tie it is. Like I said, there are positive ones and there are negative ones. For instance, you start a relationship with somebody, you think of them all the time, obviously a soul tie has already been created. But if it's a very healthy relationship, then it's not really something that you need to worry about, because this particular soul tie or bond that you guys have created is enough for you guys to be able to move forward in each other's life and build a legacy together. So not all soul ties are bad, but you cannot get this person off your mind. You are drawn to them whether you like it or not. They are always there at the tip of your mind, and you just know that every 5 minutes I'm going to think about this person. Eh? Number 2, you develop an obsessiveness towards this particular person. This is whereas these thoughts are later on manifested, or they later on develop into you wanting to know everything about this person. You start stalking them, you start trying to go to spiritual people to see what's going on in their lives, and most of the times you don't do it with any ill intention, because you are looking at this person in a very positive light, né? But given the fact that it becomes a very obsessive type of behavior, it is something that will later on become a bit toxic, from my own experience and my own understanding, because the minute anything is moved to an obsessiveness, then it no longer becomes a healthy type of connection. Né? But when you have a soul tie with a person, you are bound to be obsessed with them, whether you like it or not. And the obsession is something that you'll later on start realizing, because the minute you start stalking a person, that's where you need to be like, okay, I need to get that shit checked out, you know. Number 3, you are defined by this person's validation. So this is whereas you basically do everything that you can to impress this person. If this person doesn't like long skirts, and you're a person who likes long skirts, you automatically start wearing short skirts just to impress this person, just so you can get that validation, just so they can look at you and say, oh my god, you look beautiful today, you look handsome today. You know, that validation feeds you, and the minute you don't get that validation, you feel empty. You feel like you're lacking in some kind of department in your life, that is also a very dangerous thing, because remember that a person, as a human being, you need to have your own individuality, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in a friendship, whatever type of connection that you're in. Maintaining your individuality is very important at the end of the day. So the minute you start seeking validation from a certain person, then that is where, as you know for a fact, that you're moving down the wrong rabbit hole. Okay? So you're going to seek for validation from this person when you have created a soul tie with this particular person, and that becomes a very dangerous thing to your own self and your own identity as a human. Okay? Number 4, you constantly dream of this person. So this is where, as even when you tell yourself that, you know what, I'm done with this person, I don't want to think about this person, you just keep dreaming of them over and over and over again. Okay, the reason why I'm smiling now. So anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge Necessary fan, and I used to dream about Necessary a lot. So I don't know, maybe that was a soul tie. Okay, it wasn't, but a girl can dream. Okay, that is not important. That is not important. But when you have a soul tie, you're constantly gonna dream about this particular person, eh? And initially, you can mistake these dreams as your ancestors or your spiritual guides saying, this is the person for you, whereas in reality, that is only a manifestation of the tie or the connection that you have created, the bond that you have created with this particular person. For instance, people that are spiritually gifted, then the minute they become intimate with another person, they are most likely going to dream about this person that very same night. And that is actually an indication that a soul tie and a soul bond has been created. But like I said, these soul ties don't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. There are soul ties that are good, that are meant to be there. That is a contract that you've signed when you were coming into this world, to say that your soul and so soul are going to join, and they're going to be one thing, and they're going to help build each other in the right manner. It's only the toxic ones that you need to be very careful of. Number 5, they always pop into your life when things are about to change for the better, and they distract and delay you. So this is basically for those people who are no longer, they've been in a very prolonged soul tie with a very toxic individual. Could be a partner, could be a friend, right? You find that this particular person, you part ways, your things are moving well, you're happy, you're progressing, there's success in your life. But the minute things are starting to move into a certain direction, whereas you're about to jump into your abundance state, you're about to jump into your best self, they automatically come back into your life. And the minute they come back, that is where, as things just start falling apart and you're back to square one. So those are the toxic soul ties that bring delay and distraction into your life, because the right type of soul tie and the right type of soul contract is supposed to later on bring positivity, growth, vitality into your life, and it's supposed to improve your life. So the minute a soul tie or the presence of a person in their energy brings stagnation into your life, then know that this is a negative soul tie that needs to be broken. Number 6, you lose your individuality within the relationship. I did mention that in details earlier. Number 7, you mirror this person. So in terms of you losing your individuality, being defined by this person's validations and whatnot, you tend to actually end up mirroring this person. So the act of mirroring a person is whereas when this particular person does a specific act, or says a specific thing, or behaves in a specific way, you automatically start doing that. So this is something that you can see a lot with old couples and whatnot. So people that have been together for a long time, you find that they have this mirroring that they do with each other, and it's beautiful, it's amazing, it's adorable, right? So it's necessarily not a bad thing as long as the relationship and the connection is a good one. It's only when it's a negative energy that is a bad one, because you're going to end up mirroring even the toxic traits that this person has, and you won't be able to know where it is that you stand. The healthy way of mirroring a person is whereas you know that, okay, I can mirror this, but I cannot mirror that, because that is not who I am, and that is not the kind of person that I am. Okay. Yeah. Number 8. Whew. Number 8, they often consume your thoughts. Have you ever been in a situation whereas you have so many things going on? You have a whole lot of work, you have a lot of things that you have to do, but for some reason you can't even think about the work. There's always this bug, which is another person, that is stuck in your mind, and you just can't seem to get them off your mind. They consume your thoughts in every single way. They consume your emotions. They consume your insights in ways that you never even thought anyone would. That is also a huge sign of a soul tie. But Lorna, it depends on the kind of connection it is. It can either be a good one or a bad one. But the minute anything brings distraction in your life, distraction in things that bring growth and progress in your life, then something needs to change. Number 9, spiritual growth becomes stagnant along with other forms of growth in your life. So the presence of this person brings stagnation into your spiritual growth. This is where as the energy of this particular person is a negative energy, and this is an energy that came to destroy as opposed to build with you. And that is where as even your ancestors and your spiritual guides take a step back and they say, you know what, until this connection or this soul tie is broken, we cannot allow this person to move forward, because they're going to be moving forward in a negative manner. So soul ties can actually bring stagnation in the spiritual growth, the growth in your career, or growth in your overall life at the end of the day. And lastly, your intuition is warning you. So one thing about being a human being or being a spiritual being, because we are all spiritual beings, whether spiritually gifted or not, the one thing about it is that our intuition is always there to warn us. Our intuition is our biggest guide. And one thing for sure, God, our intuition will warn us the minute a person walks into our life to say, this is going to end bad. This is not the kind of connection that you want to be in. And the minute you avoid those warnings, then that is where you know what things are going to go bad. And even warnings in regards to a connection, you might be in a connection with a person, and as time goes on, you start having this unsettled feeling. Your intuition just feels bad about this kind of connection. That is actually your soul, your intuition telling you that this is not going to end well. This is a negative soul tie that is going to impact your life in a very bad way at the end of the day. So there are different ways in which you can break soul ties. The first one is to renounce them. So renouncing them is through the power of words, the power of speech. The same way that you can speak something onto yourself, can also speak it away from yourself. So not personally, I used to, back in the old days, when I was young, one thing that I would do, especially in the end of a friendship or relationship, I would really renounce the energy and the connection that I had with that particular person. And the reason why I did that was to make sure that there is no residual energy left in me from that person that can actually bring stagnation onto my life. So using your words is actually a very powerful thing to do. Okay. Secondly, cut off contact. Make sure that you cut this person out of your life. You delete their numbers, delete their pictures, whatever it is that you need to do to forget them, do it. Okay, as long as it is a negative soul tie, their presence or even the thought of them shouldn't even be there in your mind state. So you need to cut off the contact at the end of the day. Number 3, prayer. Prayer is also your best friend. One thing that I tell people on a regular basis, you can forget a lot of things, but never forget to pray. And when you are in a connection or you've ended a connection with someone and you feel like this was a very toxic relationship, a very toxic connection, be it platonic or like romantic, the best thing that you can do is pray about it and pray that this energy leaves you for good. Number 5 is rituals. So there are different rituals for removing soul ties. Praying with candles is a form of a ritual. Using sage to cleanse your aura, your energy and whatnot, it's a form of a ritual to actually remove soul ties. There's also this one called the cord cutting ritual. So this is actually a famous TikTok one, but it's actually very good as well from what I've noticed about it. So there are different rituals to actually break the soul ties, and there are also river rituals, which are basically the ones that I personally prefer, because using river magic, or rather using the river to actually remove any negative energy or entities from your body, has always brought the best results at a quicker pace. And lastly, forgiveness. Okay, because the thing about soul ties, especially the negative one, is that they leave behind bitter and angry emotions. These particular emotions, as much as you may feel like it's just you expressing yourself, it's fine. But the longer you hold on to them, the longer this connection and this soul tie is going to stay within your life. And that is going to bring a lot of stagnation in you. That is why in therapy and a lot of self-growth and self-awareness practices, it is always encouraged for a person to acknowledge the wrong things that were done to them or the wrong things that they've done, and then forgive themselves or forgive the next person. That is actually to bring a break whatever connection that was or even spiritual. You're breaking that to allow yourself to break free from whatever stagnation that energy had put into your life. Anyways, yeah, that is it in terms of soul ties. I hope you guys fully understand it, and I hope you guys have clarity on soul ties. But like I said, not all soul ties are bad. The bad ones you will notice by the stagnation in your life and the negative results at the end of the day, because we make soul ties with a lot of people on a daily basis. Just pick and choose which type of souls you want to continue to be connected with and which ones you want to leave behind, because those ones do not serve you. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you guys had a beautiful one. Takozani. Bye bye.